Hey everyone, Zephin Moses Blacksburg here, and in today's video I have from Viltrox. This is an adapter, the EF-R3. It's a 0.71x autofocus adapter, so this is made specifically for the Canon C70, and it's made for EF lenses. It includes the ability to pass along autofocus to the lenses. Optical glass-wise, it's 4 groups, 4 lenses, and it's a 0.71 focal length multiplier. And I wanted to go ahead and do a quick video. They are not paying me to do this. This was sent to me absolutely for free. So this is not a paid sponsorship of any means. But I wanted to do a quick video to show getting this on and installed on the C70 and then trying out a few lenses. The lenses that we'll be using today are the 24-70, 70-200, 16-35, 50, and 85 primes. So a couple of lenses, probably some of the most commonly used ones that would be typically used on the Canon C70. So let's go ahead and dive in. We'll open this guy up and we'll get it installed on the camera, and then I'll show you what it looks like with the lenses. We'll kind of test out the autofocus just in my little studio space here, and we'll see if it can focus back and forth and see if there's any noticeable differences. So let's go ahead and dive right in. We'll get started. I'm going to open this guy up, and I've got a handy dandy Allen wrench so that we can take off the old adapter. As we go along, I will be cutting away to this side camera here just so you can see me as I'm installing it. I'll probably speed it up for the purposes of this video, but you'll be able to see me removing the old adapter. It's the Canon one that came with the C70 and replacing it with the Viltrox one. So let's dive right in. Couple little papers and things like that. It does come with its own wrench, but I did come prepared with one myself just in case. And we've got our little adapter in here, nicely wrapped in plastic. Okay. And it looks fairly similar to the Canon one. It's got a nice metal build. It has the mount on the bottom in case you were to kind of mount this to, I guess maybe for a longer lens if you were using a tripod mount that would go on the adapter itself as opposed to the camera. You've got your front and rear caps. Those are just made of plastic, and we are going to go ahead and dive into getting this thing installed. It looks like there is also a USB connection inside the adapter, so maybe at some point if there were firmware updates that came out so that it has a greater compatibility with more lenses, then you could probably update this simply by connecting a USB cable. Now, I don't see a USB included in this, but this is a pretty commonly used USB connection, so you probably have like 8 of these laying around somewhere. So I'm going to dive in. We're going to get started with changing this over, and you'll be able to watch me as I install this, take off the old one. So I'm going to turn off this camera and switch over to my side angle where you can see me do that. Okay, so I was able to get the new adapter on from Viltrox, but I had to take out these 2 screws that were on the tripod foot that fits onto the bottom of the adapter, which was kind of annoying because with the other Canon one, I can still mount it onto the camera without needing to take this part off. So I have to say that that experience wasn't exactly the best. Also, when I was putting the new mount adapter on, I noticed that the locking pieces that lock it to the camera body, we're kind of getting in the way of the lens release tabs. So I ultimately chose to leave those off for right now, but we're gonna go ahead and just do this test so that we can test our multiple lenses. So right now we have the 24 to 70, and I'll go ahead and test it at the 24 range, and then we'll test it at the 70 range. Okay, so this is the lens at the widest range. I've gone ahead and turned on just some of the on-screen displays so that you can see them and you can see what's happening here. I'm also doing this so that you can see the little focus box around my face. So at 24 millimeters, we're obviously getting a different equivalent, which you'll probably see right over on the side there, but that's basically just telling us what our full frame equivalent is. So 24 to 70, let's do a little focus test. I'll get as close as I can, and then I'll back up and we'll see how this tracks my face. All in all, fairly good job at tracking the face. You might see as I was backing away, it was starting to lose the focus, but then it picked it up again pretty darn quick. So let me go ahead and switch this lens over. We're gonna switch over to the 16 to 35 and see how that one looks. Okay, so this is our 16 to 35 lens. I'm standing a lot closer, so you probably see the mic and everything. I probably sounded like I was standing behind it there. So this is at the widest end. This is 16. I'm starting to see some vignetting that's happening around the edges here. So it looks like vignetting is going to be an issue on the 16 to 35. I'm going to start zooming it in to see how far we can go until we get rid of most of that. Okay, and this is all the way at the 35, and we're still getting a good amount of vignetting, so it looks like the 16 to 35 is not going to cut it for us on this adapter. Let's go ahead and move on to the 50, the 85, and then we'll do the 70 to 200. I'm not going to do a focus test on this one because it simply just doesn't make sense to be doing that here. All right. Okay, this is our 50 millimeter 1.4 lens, and so it's obviously zoomed in a lot more. I'm going to do a little focus test. I'll turn the on-screen displays back on so you can watch the focus box and see as it tracks me. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll do a little movement and we'll see what happens. So it definitely looks like the 51.4 is having a little bit more trouble trying to track me using this adapter. So I'm probably going to say that this might be best used for maybe a sit-down interview or something where the person isn't going to be going in and out of frame by a whole lot. But it was definitely having trouble as I got closer to the lens. And again, maybe you wouldn't be standing as close to the lens in a situation like this, but just wanted to kind of offer that up and show what that looks like. Let's go ahead and jump into the 85. Okay, so I'm putting my on-screen displays back on screen just so you can see where the focus box is going. I can't stand as close to the camera. I'm also standing a little bit lower just to make sure my head fits in the frame here. So let me go ahead and kind of bounce around and move around and see how it tracks me. So as you can see, it had a little bit of trouble tracking me. This is the 85mm 1.8 lens, so it was definitely having a little bit of a struggle as I was moving forward and backwards. But again, I'd probably only be using a lens like this in like a sit-down interview setting where I really want to blur out and compress that background. So let's do one more lens. We've got the 70 to 200 here. There's no way I'm going to be able to hit the 200 end. I'll try to stand as far back as I can, but I don't know that we'll be able to zoom in all the way on that one. So let's check it out. Okay, so I was just making sure that it was in the zoom mode that allowed me to focus a little bit closer because we are working in such a small space here in my studio. But this is the 70 to 200, it's an f2.8, and I believe this is the second iteration of it. It's not the newer third generation one. This is the older Canon EF, I believe, Mark II of 70 to 200. So I'm gonna move around. Let me go ahead and turn the on-screen displays on so you can watch it as it tracks me. Pretty close. I'm actually, let's see, arm's length away from the lens. Although the marker is red to tell us that it's not in focus. I think I'm right. Okay, so yeah, it looks like I'm right on the edge. This is now in focus here. So let's move around. Okay, not too bad. I'm gonna try to zoom into the 100 mark and then maybe 200. Let's see what we get. Okay, so we're now at 100, so I have to stand a little bit further back, and let's move around here, see if it tracks me. Moving a little quicker. So obviously some of these movements aren't going to be as necessary when you're out in the field filming with, especially with a 70 to 200. Again, this is probably more of a sit-down interview, lockdown kind of shot, but you can see how it's tracking me. Okay, let's go to 200. All right, I've got to back up pretty far here for it to pick up focus. I'm probably about 8 to 10 feet away from the camera right now. Okay, let me go ahead and pop back on the 24 to 70 and we'll finish this off. And so now we're back to the 24 to 70, and I realized that I didn't try this at the 70 end, so let me just zoom in real fast and show you that. So that's all the way at 70. Does a pretty good job at tracking. So I can say that in testing out and using this Viltrox adapter, is this going to be a replacement for the more expensive Canon adapter? Probably not an exact replacement, but again, I think this all comes down to your usage case. If you're using this with the same Canon lenses that I used, you saw that it worked pretty darn well except for the 16-35 lens. Now, if I needed to be able to use that lens, we are going to probably have some vignetting on it, and I would deem that unusable. We would need either a different camera or a different adapter to make that work. So I believe that this is still a good, affordable option if you're using certain lenses, but you'll need to check the compatibility list of the lenses that are made to work with this adapter before you go out and use it in the field. Does the autofocus keep up? That's going to be ultimately up to you to make that call. I believe that on many lenses, it does a pretty good job. I wouldn't be using this for high speed sports action or anything like that. But if we're using it for a sit-down interview and you're trying to save some money on the adapter, I think that the Viltrox, this is the EF-R3 model, could be a good option for you. Ultimately, you're the judge, so go ahead and leave some comments down below. Let me know what you thought, and we'll see you soon.